I'm Greg Scheinman, and this is Profile. On today's show, Sam Gainer, Senior Partner, Gainer Donnelly Desroches. So Sam, who is Sam Gainer?
Well, Sam Gainer, I guess, is a number of people. I started out, actually we lived on a farm early on until the drought drove us out of West Texas. Then we moved to Austin, and I went to high school there. Got interested in magic, because I always had loved magic every time I'd see a magician. But we didn't have a whole lot of money in the family, so eventually I decided it was easier to go to Wynn's Variety store and buy some 10-cent balls. So I decided to start learning to juggle first. And then early on, starting at age 5, I had kind of taken up the piano. I play by ear. And I was sort of lucky. I have perfect pitch. It's something I think you're just born with. In other words, if you hit a note on a piano now, I could tell you exactly what note that is. So I play by ear. Don't really read a whole lot. But I used to say, when I played the ragtime piano at the barn, I used to say, if you can hum it, I can play it. You got $1, I can play it for a long time.
Take me through your educational history and how you got to where you are.
Well, of course, I went to school there in Austin, and then I decided to go into the University of Texas. Dad said, you know, people come from all over the world to go to this university. Now, what are you boys going to major in when you get down there? That's what he would say to my brother and I. So I started there. I actually started in radio television, of all things. And but one of my good friends, Gareth Cook, said, you know, Sam, it's going to be hard to really make it in television. You know, there's a lot of people starving to death out there. I said, but Gareth, there's a lot of aesthetic satisfaction. He said, you know, the trouble is you can't eat aesthetic satisfaction. So he persuaded me. He was majoring in business. So we decided together to get a CPA certificate and then complement that with a law degree, because we had actually taken a little survey of businessmen, asked them if they had to do over again what they would do, and we kept coming up with I would get a degree in engineering and then an MBA, or I'd get a CPA certificate and a law degree. So that's what we decided to do. And in my second year of the university, then this place, The Barn in Austin, Texas, opened, and they needed a ragtime piano. And they had heard that I played the piano, so eventually I applied for that job. Actually, the first night it was open, August the 1st of 1963, I played there, and I ended up with 3 different record albums that I made out there and sold them. That's where I sort of got hooked on travel, because we would take I took 2 trips around the world, once by the upper route, once by the lower route, and I eventually got more and more interested in photography. And so gradually, as I would travel, I got better and better equipment, eventually moving up to Hasselblad. And now, just recently, I bought the Nikon D3X, 24,000 megapixels. So that's kind of my journey in photography.
How do you go to work every day as an accountant when you have all these other passions?
I did have a first marriage in which I married one of the girls in the red velvet swing at the barn. That probably wasn't the greatest of ideas. But that, as Norma says, Sambo had his first wife, and now he's got his last wife. But that was an interesting experience, and in that I ran up a bunch of debts. Eventually got a divorce, and instead of taking bankruptcy, I decided to go on the road, on the dog and pony show circuit, as we sometimes called it, where I did juggling, unicycling, magic tricks, balancing, and all over the state of Texas. Back in the school year 74-75, I did 850 schools, about as many as you can do. And so eventually, I decided that I didn't want to be 55 and still trying to ride a unicycle. So I decided I had the background, I had my law degree and CPA certificate by then. So then I went to some headhunters in Houston, finally found one that exposed me to a guy named W. Dawson Carter, who had a small CPA practice. So he eventually hired me, and then I bought his practice, because originally it was this whole thing was me and a secretary and one accountant. And now we've got like 140 people. So as they say, capitalism's alive and well.
How did you do it?
Well, you know, my dad always had an interesting, you'll note I quote my dad frequently. He always said, you know, son, if you'll just treat people just based on the golden rule, it's amazing how that'll be a great thing for you. So I always try to treat people the way I would like to be treated. And the same way with clients. And eventually, if people understand that they're going to be treated fairly and that you're going to listen to them, then it's fairly easy to build a business.
What kind of person is a Sam Gainer client?
Well, a Sam Gainer client, I sometimes say we've got everything from soup to nuts. We've got small people, we've got larger firms. Over the years, I've sort of it's sort of grown by referral. It's amazing how much of what I do. If I look at the current practice right now, it's amazing how many times I can trace it way back to the nucleus of that original accounting practice that I bought for $150,000 in the late 70s, as those people would recommend someone else, and then they would recommend someone else, and that's the way it basically grew, principally by referral. Okay, so Greg, this is now one of my favorite rooms of the house, the workshop. There's an amazing number of tools in here. I used to say that there's a section in Matthew that says I'm entitled to one, perhaps two, of every tool in the Sears Roebuck catalog.
Well, it looks like you certainly accomplished that goal.
Well, I didn't really know that woodworking was going to be something I loved, but back in the late 70s, maybe the early 80s, I did some great work for a client, and he was so pleased that he had a table saw delivered to my garage the next morning. And that got me started on the whole thing.
It sounds like a lot of your clients almost live vicariously through your passions and your endeavors, and not only don't count it, I guess, against you, but really embrace it and are loyal to you probably because of it.
In a strange sort of way, Greg, I think you're right. A lot of times when I get a new client, one of the first things they'll say is, well, now my friend Joe, who sent me here, said that I need to look at some of your pictures, and he talked about your calendar. And I said, oh, well, yes, I have one of those, and that will just open the whole door. So it's not like that it's something negative. It's something positive because, again, unfortunately, accounting has a reputation for sort of being a dull profession, and with attracting people perhaps who are sort of engineering types, people who are just looking at the numbers and that sort of thing. And some people are that, with the bank reconciliation mentality. I just happen to be a little different. I think part of it comes from the law background. You know, a lawyer, you're taught in law school to be an advocate. And I guess I've sort of taken that advocacy portion. And again, that client usually will feel that. And the fact that I have other interests, as long as I can be there to service his needs or have a good staff person, if I'm not there, then they're just plenty happy with that.
What's the biggest risk you think you've ever taken?
To some degree, it was probably when I didn't have any money. I'd just gotten off the dog and pony show circuit. I was finally out of debt. But taking over that practice of W. Dawson Carter and agreeing to pay him $2,500 a month for the next 5 years when I didn't have any money to put down. But to some degree, I figured, well, I don't really have much to lose. And so, but I went into that, I feel like, with some kind of risk, but thank goodness that I took it. In other words, I actually didn't start off with a very big salary at that time. But I could see the clients that he had, I could see the potential that this thing could be built into something really big. So I'm so glad that I took that risk, and now trying to get people around me who are, have that same potential and opening some doors for them, there's been a lot of satisfaction.